everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on the Lexus. Now the Lexus has just been for its last service with Lexus because my extended warranty is now ended. Lexus will let you extend the warranty for an additional 10 years as long as you have it serviced with them, and that's all come to an end now. Now they reported when it was done that one of these pins won't come out. These are the anti-rattle pins. So there's a big spring, there's a bolt here which actually physically holds the brake pads in, so that even if you lost these pins, the brake pads won't come out. I'm not that impressed that Lexus seems to have knocked most of the paint off my calipers around the pins. Anyway, I'm going to turn the wheel so we've got a bit of a better angle on the brake caliper, and then we'll see which pin's stuck and how stuck it is. And I've actually got the top pin out, so the pin looks like this, and at one end there is like a sprung steel collar, so when you push it into the hole that collar will compress and then kind of provides a bit of resistance to the pin coming out. So it sits kind of like that. So I've tapped it on this pin end with a little punch and it came straight out. There's also a spring which fits behind that pin, and then you push it back and the top pin goes across the front of it, stop it coming out. Now for this and two pins like this, Lexus want £94. Well, I thought that was a little bit ludicrous, so I've got these. This looks identical to me, and you get two of them, and I've got 4 pins. And I got these from Rock Auto in America. Super fast service, came within a week, believe it or not. No customs to pay, they do all that for you. And they sent me 2 packs for $48. That was it, that's all I paid, $48. No extra postage or anything like that, no customs charges. 48 bucks for 4 of these and 8 pins. Lexus, 2 pins, 1 spring, £94. Yeah. Okay, right, now the bottom one will not tap out. I've got a dead blow hammer here. If you don't know what a dead blow hammer is, it's a hammer that's got lead shot inside, so the idea is when you do that, the lead shot will shoot to the end that you're going to hit, and it's supposed to provide a harder blow. I'll try getting this one out. Obviously this is where Lexus had their problem, because they smashed all the paint off. So if it won't come out, I'm going to have to look at some different methods of getting it out. Maybe put lots and lots of lubricant and penetrating oil on both sides. The other thing you can try and do is cut the pin in half, take a chunk out, and then try and take that side out on its own, and then you've only got the really bad one to work on. So we'll see what happens. The lube on, I'm using some GT85. Now the internet, as ever helpful, is full of good ideas to get these out. So one of them is to use a set of mole grips, which look like this, and to put them on the pin, tighten down hard, and then use that to kind of twist it, kind of break the corrosion by twisting it. I've tried that, it's rock solid, that's not doing any help at all. Now the idea I had was you could cut it there and there, and then you can kind of attack it from both sides. You could get a punch on there and punch it that way and then punch it that way until you break it free. I even thought of, you could file, because you can get into the thing on the disc, you could file a flat there and then one underneath and get a spanner on there, even if it's just an adjustable, and then you would get much better purchase than some mole grips, which are kind of relying on how tight you can get them. So we're going to let this do its thing, see if that works. I've got a hammer. I've even thought about, because on the new pin you can see that the end there, I don't know if I'll be able to get to it. That's the thing, it feels like it's in a hollow in the end of the caliper. The idea was to get a screwdriver in there and use it as a wedge to pull it out that way. Now I look at it, I don't think that's going to work, because I think the only bit that's sticking out is that top bit that's rounded over, so that might not work. Okay, while this is doing its job, I don't expect it to work in 5 minutes. I'm going to give it another tap every now and then, and I might go get a file and start filing this to see if that works, see if we can get an adjustable on it. I've tried filing some flats on here. That doesn't do any good. I've took the middle bolt out, and what I'm going to try and do now is cut with a Dremel down there and possibly down there. So then I'll have to cut that in the middle as well. We can then take the pin out, take these out, and I'll get more room to be able to tap the other way. Because otherwise we're looking at drilling these out, which I don't really want to do, but we might be left with no choice. But I'm sure you can see there, look, I've cut through the pin with my trusty cordless Dremel using these little cutting discs you can get, lovely and thin. Now the next plan is to go in there and there. There is actually enough room, if you think the disc is where that bit on the end is, there's enough room for me to get right up to the caliper, which should mean that the pin is cut, and there's plenty of space behind on either side to do that. So I'm going to really carefully cut both ends of the pin and then see if that gives us any. I can then get the brake pads out and I can have another look. Well, will you look at that? Tried to cut the pin there as much as I could, didn't really work, so I cut it again here so I could get this middle piece out, and all that side dropped out. So there is a little bit of corrosion on this side, but obviously this is the problem. But if I can cut here, get us a nice flat piece, I can then put the drift on there and we can attack it that way maybe. Let's have a go and see what happens. Right, so I managed to cut it off there. We've got both the brake pads out. If I hit this really hard, it doesn't really go anywhere. And I would much rather, I think the next plan is to heat up the caliper here with a heat gun. I think I'd much rather have some burnt off paint and have to repair that than smash the lug off the caliper and then have to, you know, how much is a new caliper on this? You know, it's going to be $600–700. Yeah, I'm going to gently warm up the aluminium, and I'm hoping that it's going to be enough that I can tap that out gently without having to bray on it with a hammer. I'm going to do it really gingerly and just nice and steadily just warm this up. Well, we're not getting anywhere, I'm afraid, folks. I even tried cutting a slot in the end and tried a screwdriver on it, and it's absolutely solid. So we're rapidly reaching the point where I think we might have to drill the pin out. Now I've got plenty of room here to get a drill up to there. I'm just going to be really careful. Thankfully on the end of the pin, I've noticed. Not on that one, that's a shame. The first one I looked at had a really nice point in the middle where you could centre pop it. So we need to put a centre point in the end, so punch a little divot in it so the drill can hook into that, and then progressively go up in drill sizes until this is just so weak that it won't stay in there. So wish me luck. I'll go get a drill and some bits and a 4-leaf clover, and then we'll carry on. Meanwhile, under the car, right, this is a centre punch. I don't know if you can see how it goes to a little point, and what you do is, God knows if you can see that, in the middle of the pin here there is now a little divot. I'll try and hopefully you can see that. There's a tiny little mark, which means I can now put a drill in that little mark and it shouldn't go off centre, and I'm going to drill all the way through and then progressively go up in sizes of drill until the pin can be pushed out, you know, easily. Right, here we go. Right, quick update. We now have a hole through the pin. Now this is a bit counterintuitive. What happens, because at the end of the pin there's this metal spinny clip thing which obviously puts tension. When you push that into the hole, that's slightly bigger than the hole and it holds the pin in place. But you see in the middle there it's not as big. So I drilled with a drill kind of half the size of that, but when it hits this spring clip it seems to struggle to drill the middle piece. So what I did was I used my brains and I went to a smaller drill so that I'm just drilling that little pillar that's inside the spring, and it went straight through. Ding dong ding, the witch, no it's not that one, the pin is out. Hallelujah. Here look, I can show you. Wow, now that was a bit of a mammoth job. Here's the little piece that was still in there. Let me get in my hand so you can see it. Can you see? So that thick end is the end of the pin, and then that bit there is the remains of the spring steel. I think this is the problem. The sprung steel bit here had corrosion welded itself into that aluminium and would not come out. So I've had to kind of drill as big as I can, but drilling this stuff is quite hard. I found it must be really tough steel, spring steel, and I couldn't really drill through that particularly well. So what I've managed to do is I've used a small screwdriver and like get the edge of it and push it into the middle of the hole. Push into the middle, push into the middle until there was enough to get a drift on it, and then I slowly pushed it out, and it came out in two pieces. One piece has shot off underneath the car. I'll have to retrieve that when I can get to it, but it is now out. So a pin will now go in there. So I just need, I'm going to tidy the hole up now. I've got a file, I'm going to get an emery cloth. I don't want to make it particularly any bigger, but it's a bit rough in there and I want to smooth it because I don't want this to happen again. And then lots of copper grease on the pins to make sure we don't end up in the same position. Yeah, that wasn't much fun at all. Right, so we're back together again. Top pin in, all copper slipped up both sides. The spring goes in. This big pin has to go in first as well. 13mm nut on that end. That just pushes out. This new spring goes over that, and then you have to push that back while you put the bottom pin in. Sprung steel bit at this side. Tap it in with a hammer. Thankfully that still needed tapping in, so I've not made the hole too big. And again, all copper slipped up, and I'll check these regularly now because it obviously Lexus hasn't been. I'm going to change all this on the other side, so just the pins and this spring, because I've got them, and then I can check that that one's okay as well because confidence is low, and then that's it. So this was a real pain to do. Another one of those jobs where you reach a point where you think, oh my god, I'll never get this done, and then what do you know, you do it, and the thing that's stopping you just pops out. Right, around the other side now. This looks like it's been copper slipped. This one not so much, and you can see where they've hit the caliper with the hammer. It looks. This one looks to have a little bit on. So I'm just going to change the pins in the spring because I've got them, and then I know the state they're in. And to kind of prove my point, there is copper slip on the pins. There is next to none on the sprung steel part, you know, the bit that welds itself to the caliper. And here's the other one, and it's the same story. Little bit of copper slip inside. That's not going to do us any good, but look, next to nothing on it. So we're gonna sort that out. I'm literally going to fill these holes with copper grease, tap them in, and then anything that squeezes out I'll just wipe off. But yeah, could be done better than that. Right, so that's it all finished. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.